Plus, protests over concerns surrounding mail-in voting and the United States Postal Service, the latest update from Washington, D.C. And later, a 60-year-old tradition forced to go virtual this year, how firefighters in Helena are keeping their commitment to fill the boot.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Thanks for spending your Saturday with us. I'm Matt Holzaffel. We start tonight with a look at the latest coronavirus numbers across the state. A handful of new confirmed cases to add since last night, nearly 5,700 total cases in the Treasure State, and almost 1,500 active cases. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Montana has the 45th most cases among the United States, ahead of Hawaii, Maine, Alaska, Wyoming, and Vermont. Lewis and Clark County currently showing 58 active cases, while Cascade County comes in at 67 active cases. New this evening, the Helena City Commission has named Rachel Harlow Schock as its choice to become the next city manager. Mayor Wilmot Collins announced this afternoon that the commission had reached a consensus to pursue a contract with Harlow Schock after about an hour of deliberations. Harlow Schock is currently the state of Colorado's Deputy Director of Local Government. She's worked in the state's local government center and previously held several positions with the city of Westminster in Colorado. In all, Helena received 94 applications for the city manager position. The City Commission narrowed the field to 2 finalists who came to Helena this weekend for final interviews. The other finalist was Troy Smith, Deputy City Manager of Commerce City, Colorado. As universities across the country begin bringing students back to campus, many are scrambling to finalize classroom details that will ensure safety for students and faculty. MTN's Megan Mannering spoke with a professor at the University of Montana who says this year is all about adaptability.
Bunk beds assembled, textbooks purchased, and in just under 1 week, the University of Montana will be back in session with face-to-face instruction.
It'll be great to be back in the classroom and to be teaching and to interacting with students.
But not so fast. Before students show up to class on Wednesday, there are some new rules that they're going to have to follow. For starters, masks will be required in all of the classrooms. Students will also be spaced out as to not come in contact with one another. And even if everything goes as planned, students and faculty have to be ready to make that switch to remote learning just in case.
I've got the course set up so that I can give lectures remotely via Zoom and students can participate via Zoom. That's for the lecture portion of it.
Now in his 19th year teaching at UM, Professor Chris Palmer has his signature classroom style.
I try to do a lot of active learning in my classroom, so we'll have students working together on small questions and projects, and I'll be asking questions and having students respond.
So Palmer and his colleagues are adjusting, figuring out how to keep students engaged when you can't rely on that active learning environment. And they've gotten pretty creative. For example,
and one of the ways that we'll actually be doing interactive learning is that students will be able to answer questions that I ask via their cell phone, even if they're in the classroom or if they're learning at home.
The caution tape, the masks, the sanitizing wipe downs after every class will be a pain, no doubt about it. But if it means seeing his students again, Palmer is on board.
The experience of being back, interacting with students, and having those great moments as a teacher and seeing learners really learn the material, I think that's really going to be exciting for us again, and it'll calm our nerves quite a bit.
In Missoula, Megan Mannering, MTN News.
And Professor Palmer says he's confident his students will follow protocol and do their best to keep themselves and the faculty safe this year. Dozens of protesters banged on pots and pans early this morning outside of the D.C. home of Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, offering their own wake-up call for the controversial Trump administration official to resign. The protests come as the U.S. Postal Service reportedly warns at least 46 states, including Montana, of significant delays that could impact the 2020 election. The Postal Service says it is unable to guarantee all ballots mailed in will arrive on time to be counted. This warning comes after the president acknowledged his stance on blocking funding to the Postal Service could hinder the agency expected to process millions of mail-in ballots this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. Well, it's been a nice and sunny day across the area, and our Storm Tracker weather team is here to tell us all about it. Grant Garland joins us now. Grant?
Yeah, that's right, Matt. It's been an absolutely gorgeous day, so hopefully you're able to get out, if you haven't yet, to enjoy that warm weather. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's just right, at least for me anyways. Taking a look outside, it looks beautiful, especially out towards the Electric and the capital cities. Almost 90 degrees here in the Electric, but 90 in Helena. 83 in Lewistown and 88 in Hayes. Elsewhere, seeing 86 in Bozeman, 91 in Glasgow, and 90 in Havre. Overall, with our winds, we are seeing sustained winds at 18 miles an hour in Helena, so a little bit breezy. 14 in Kalispell and 17 in Glasgow. Over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at a beautiful sunny day across the Treasure State. No problems whatsoever. And that's going to be the continuing trend as we head into the nighttime. Temperatures tonight falling down to around 52 degrees in Great Falls, with winds being light, as well as for our friends in Helena, looking at 52 degrees with calms being light after midnight. As far as everyone else, we're going to see the 50s for a lot of folks. 58 in Havre, 63 though in Hayes, 61 in Glasgow, out towards Cut Bank around 56 degrees. Now we have a very hot start to our work week. I mean, we're talking about records possibly being broken in the next 3 days. We're going to talk about all that and more in a few minutes, but for now, back to you.
All right, thanks, Grant. Well, if you're out in Helena and you want to enjoy that hot, new, nice weather, there's a new trail next to the Montana Wild Education Center and near Spring Meadow Lake State Park. The quarter-mile trail was previously a trail before a fire swept through it. Environmental advocacy group Last Chance Audubon decided to resurrect the trail and dedicated it to Jane Beasley, the former owner of Birds and Beasleys in Helena. Jane passed away last year. The current owner, Jane's daughter Sandy, says Jane had a big admiration for nature and birds. This trail represents what Jane cared for, having nature bring the community together.
Okay, it brought tears to my eyes. It was just really cool. Mom was a pretty special person to all of us, but I've worked with her hand in hand for the last 24 years, and so she just loved nature and people. So when Audubon called us up and said, hey, you know, we're going to do this trail, I was just shocked, because I was thinking the memorial would go to something else. It's just been really, really touching.
Montana Conservation Corp and AmeriCorps members did the labor on the trail. Sandy hopes to get a sign up for it to be officially named the Jane Beasley Memorial Trail. Millions of American workers considered to be essential don't have the luxury of working from home. That includes construction workers, who often work in close proximity to one another on sites. But as Maya Rodriguez explains, some are using new technology to make sure their work remains socially distanced.
Within these unfinished walls, Tom Stefanko oversees hundreds of construction workers every day. All of them wearing what looks like an old-school pager, but the technology involved is new.
It gives the workers a little bit of comfort.
These are proximity tracers, designed to make sure workers on construction sites remain socially distant during these pandemic times.
So if I was in contact with another person, it would start beeping red, and if I stayed there longer, it would progressively beep louder.
While they alert workers that they're too close to one another, the proximity tracers also record that data in case a worker later ends up testing positive for COVID-19.
So it provides the ability to have a real-time alerting system, and then also be able to go back historically and see who's been in contact with whom.
Robert Costantini is the CEO of Triax Technologies, which began developing these proximity tracers when the coronavirus outbreak began.
You know, the stakes are really high if you get it wrong. I mean, workers could be infected, you can shut your site down, the cost can be enormous.
The contact tracers, though, cost about $1 a day per worker. More than 15,000 of them are now in use on more than 70 construction sites around the country.
We have 1,000 tags here on site,
including the 1 million square foot building Tom Stefanko and his team are working on in Philadelphia.
Most workers just keep it on their hard hat, take it with them as they come and go, so making it as part of their PPE.
Personal protective equipment that's now a requirement to try and keep COVID-19 out of this workforce. In Philadelphia, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
Still ahead, one Great Falls woman is using her years of dog training experience to help people make sure their dog is fit for the farm. I'll tell you what I'm talking about after the break.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Welcome back. Well, for 66 years, the International Association of Firefighters have been collecting funds for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, an annual fundraiser where you typically see firefighters outside with a boot collecting donations. This year, the fundraiser went virtual because of the pandemic. In previous years, Helena firefighters were able to raise about $13,000. Having the fundraiser virtually does present more challenges, but Helena firefighter Dave Mazalowski remains hopeful that he can still help those with a neuromuscular disease.
We have the unique privilege of being, called heroes, stuff like that. But when we hear the stories of these kids battling this disease and all they want to do is go to summer camp, and this is our ability to provide some funds to send these kids to summer camp, it makes all the difference.
And all the proceeds go to funding research for treatments and cures for ALS, muscular dystrophy, and other neuromuscular diseases. To find all the ways you can donate, that information will be posted on our website. We've always wanted to own a farm dog, but your four-legged friend doesn't exactly fit the title. One Great Falls woman is using her years of dog training experience to make sure your dog is fit for the farm. 40-year dog trainer Lori Eby offers a class right out of her home for all dogs to become farm dog certified. Dogs train for 4 weeks before they compete in a pass-fail trial to become farm dog certified. The dogs undergo several tests they would encounter on a farm, including interaction with farm machinery, walking over various surfaces, and learning how to interact with humans, dogs, livestock. Eby said the class is relatively new for Montana and allows title-seeking owners to enter their dogs in a COVID-friendly trial.
Well, tonight, temperatures varying from the 40s to around 56 degrees out towards Hayes. Don't go away, our 7-day forecast is coming up next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Grant Garland.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have had a fantastic Saturday so far. It definitely was a day to get outside. Temperatures, even though they were around 88 degrees because of the lack of humidity, it felt fantastic out there. Was a little bit warmer, though, down towards Helena, 90 degrees. And then we're seeing at 90 degrees in Billings. Still waiting to get the official reports for Glasgow and Jordan just yet. That should be coming in around 6:30 this evening. Now, the average for this time of year here in the Electric City is around 83. The record was set back in 1990 when it was 101 degrees. Just 2 years before I was born. Yeah, kind of getting there. Currently, we're seeing 89 degrees, and it feels like it's 85, all thanks to, again, that low humidity and those winds out of the northwest at around 9 miles an hour. It looks and feels great. We're seeing 90 degrees up towards Havre, 83 in Lewistown, 90 in Jordan, and 91 in Glasgow. And we are seeing still 18-mile-per-hour winds in Helena. So it is a little bit breezy out there, as well as for our friends in Glasgow, 17 miles an hour. As far as our wind speeds, well, we have seen our peak wind gusts at around 31 in the Electric City and 28 in Helena, 35 though out towards Glasgow. Over the last 3 hours now, these are actually picking up bugs. So yeah, I know that this state, if you're driving on the highway, you're going to hit them like it's nobody's business. Well, these are all bugs as well as maybe a few birds, but everything has been really, really nice outside. It's been beautiful. Our burn restrictions currently, well, we are looking at stage 1 for a lot of our friends along the High Line, and we're seeing it in Helena. We're looking at local bans, so just make sure that you are following all the rules that you're supposed to. As we go throughout the day tomorrow, right around 4 p.m., that's when we could be looking at a few elevated situations for our friends on Cut Bank, and also down towards Bozeman, we will see just a few parts of the area with that elevated risk. Now tomorrow, we are going to be exceptionally dry. I mean, we're looking at around 3 p.m., 12%. The only saving grace for Great Falls tomorrow without having that really elevated risk for fire is our winds aren't going to really be gusting that much, around 5 miles an hour. And around in Helena, it's going to be right around the 4 p.m. mark where we're seeing at 13%. But again, those winds are gusting around 4 miles an hour. As far as what we can expect in terms of our winds gusting at certain times, though, elsewhere 10 to 20 miles an hour possible. Not looking at any main threats there. Going throughout the night, we're going to be looking at clear skies. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at also clear skies, and then a few clouds will try and build into the southwestern part of the state. Monday, looking at partly to mostly sunny skies for Monday morning, and then we're going to be looking at a relatively nice day, but it's going to be exceptionally hot. I mean, 97 degrees. So real quick, 94 on tomorrow, 97 on Monday, 95 on Tuesday. We could be breaking a lot of records for the next 3 days, and that's going to be a really big concern for us as we head into the first start of the work week, and for our friends in Helena too. 95 tomorrow, 97 on Monday, and 94 on Tuesday. Don't go away. We'll be back right after this break.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Welcome back. The Frontier Conference announced earlier this week that it would officially move its football season to the spring of 2021, leaving just cross country and golf as the two remaining sports to compete this fall. As of July, the conference's 5 Montana-based schools had planned to play a short football season this fall, but the conference's Council of Presidents backtracked, citing safety of student athletes, coaches, and staff. MSU Northern head coach Andrew Rowland said the announcement was disappointing, but at least brings some peace of mind in the short term. But there are still plenty of questions about how football will look in Montana in February.
I think with the way the year's gone, I think nothing's really a surprise anymore. It was tough news. You know, my first reaction was I feel for our kids because of the anticipation they had for the fall season. But with that said, you know, it doesn't change our course as a program, but they're allowing us to practice, and we're going to take full advantage of it. You know, we have time this fall to, I think, develop a plan. Obviously, weather plays a factor here in Montana too, so being able to fit it, you know, and what's February going to look like in March. And so I think there's a lot of factors that are going to need to be discussed in the coming months in preparation for the spring.
Rowland said Northern plans to break in the Lights new stadium with an inter-squad game later this fall, pending approval from Hill County. The COVID-19 pandemic has canceled numerous events across the state this summer, but 20 long-distance runners proved that not even a pandemic can take away your passion. They ran 50 miles across the Bob Marshall Wilderness late last month. One of our MTN alumni, Frank Field, was part of that group and gives us an inside look.
The run across the Bob, or Rat Bob, began around 6 a.m., entering the wilderness near Seeley Lake. The path meandered about 50 miles, ending at Holland Lake to the north. This was the 8th Rat Bob, loosely organized by Missoula resident Steve Brown.
It's just kind of a labor of love. I love being in the Bob. I love watching people's reaction when they see places. It's just fun for me to take different people back there and to see it and experience it and listen to them talk about it.
The conditions were incredibly varied, from desert-like dusty trails to creek crossings, deep mud, and slow climbs, including one to the top of Cardinal Peak, some 8,000 feet high. It was work, and I won't lie, there were moments I wondered if someone would have to call for our rescue to get me out. I should have given myself time to acclimate after driving over from Seattle to participate. But every step provided an unparalleled opportunity.
No towns, no vending machines, no power. You're out in the middle of nowhere, and it's spectacular. And it's spaces that most people don't get to see. And I feel so fortunate that my body takes me there.
In places, the vegetation was so thick you couldn't see the trail at all. We lost it several times. I was glad to be with experienced trail runners. I live in Seattle now, but I was born and raised in Montana and always wanted to see the Bob. Thanks to Rat Bob runners, I got to.
When I told a lot of friends and family I was going to do this, the first question a lot of people had was, why? Which is understandable. But honestly, I feel like, why not? There's so much turmoil in the world, so much unhappiness. We can't let that stop us from pursuing our dreams, pursuing goals, moving forward, right? And nobody's going to mistake me. Nobody who knows me would mistake me for some positive thinker, right? But, you know, with a little bit of planning and a little bit of preparation, we can still do these things. And so, 35 miles into this today, it's been really hard. I don't think I've ever done anything this hard in my life, but every second has been worth it. I would do it again.
And Frank tells us the runners all pledged prior to the gathering to practice safe protocols. We'll be right back.
Let's look at temperatures tonight. 52 degrees for both the electric and capital cities, 56 in Glasgow and 48 in Cutbank. Overall, tomorrow, just heads up, we are going to be warming up, continuing to look at our daily record high temperatures possibly in danger of being broken over the next 3 days. We are looking at temperatures warming up to around 97 degrees by Monday here in the Electric City, 95 on Tuesday. So heads up, very, very warm week, and not only for us, but for our friends in Helena too. 95 tomorrow, then 97 on Monday.
Well, this is a drive-by parade for Hester Ford, believed to be the oldest living woman in America. She turned 116 today. According to her family, the U.S. Census Bureau documents indicate she was born in 1905. Another set says she was born in 1904. So whether she's 115 or 116, she is still the oldest person on record living in the United States. And this was her birthday party today. Down in South Carolina, actually. Well, Charlotte, she lives in North Carolina now, from South Carolina.
Well, how about that? Just because we're both from the North and South.
All right. Oh, it was a good story. Happy birthday to Hester. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock.